It was designed to be flawless, not over time, but from the very beginning. According to early urban planning records, this city was meant to correct every mistake humanity had ever made. No traffic jams, no slums, no randomness. Every street was calculated. Every building assigned a purpose. Every human movement anticipated. Planners believed chaos was not natural. It was simply poor design, and design could be perfected. Documents from the project's founding describe a bold promise: a city without inefficiency, without unpredictability, without failure. On paper, it was a triumph. Architectural models showed harmony, mathematical balance, a place where nothing was left to chance. Visitors were impressed, politicians celebrated, and the world paid attention. But buried in the same archives, between charts and blueprints, was a quieter observation. A note from an early survey mentioned something unexpected. People felt uncomfortable, not unsafe, not oppressed, just uneasy. Later accounts would echo the same feeling. The city worked perfectly, but something essential was missing. And what was removed in the name of perfection would slowly make the city impossible to live in. This is Lost Chapter, a series about history's forgotten decisions and the paradoxes they left behind. Not the stories of heroes and victories, but the moments where logic failed and certainty became a trap. In rarely opened archives, in planning reports no one wanted to revisit, patterns begin to emerge. According to documents preserved long after the celebrations ended, the most dangerous ideas were often the most reasonable ones. Ideas that promised order, efficiency, and control. Lost Chapter exists to examine those ideas, not as myths, but as evidence, because history does not collapse all at once. It erodes quietly while everyone believes things are working. In this episode, we examine a city designed to eliminate failure, a place built to be perfect, and the subtle mistake that made it unlivable. This is not a story about bad intentions. It is a story about certainty and what happens when humans trust it too much. The idea did not begin as an experiment. It began as a correction. According to early post-war planning papers, many governments believed traditional cities had failed. They were crowded, inefficient, and unpredictable. Urban growth was seen as something that happened by accident, not by intention. Planners wanted to change that. They believed a city could be designed the way a machine is built, with clear inputs, predictable outputs, and no wasted movement. Documents from architectural councils of the time describe a new philosophy. Order would replace spontaneity. Logic would replace habit. Human behavior, they argued, was measurable. Traffic could be modeled. Work routines standardized. Social interaction placed into zones. Housing here, commerce there, leisure somewhere else. Nothing would overlap. Nothing would collide. This vision gained support quickly. According to government correspondence, the project was framed as progress itself, a city free from congestion, free from inequality, free from inefficiency. Funding followed confidence. Budgets were approved without resistance. International experts were invited, and construction began almost immediately. From the outside, the city looked like the future. Aerial photographs from the early years show perfect symmetry, wide roads, spaced buildings, and clean separation between functions. There were no informal neighborhoods, no organic shortcuts, no visible disorder. Everything was intentional. Residents were carefully selected, often professionals, engineers, civil servants. People expected stability, predictability, and comfort. At first, they got exactly that. Services worked, transportation ran on time, and infrastructure rarely failed. According to initial satisfaction surveys, the city performed better than older urban centers, but performance was not the same as life. Hidden in sociological reports from the same period were early signs of friction. People described distances as exhausting, spaces as empty, and routines as repetitive. Public squares existed, but rarely filled. Shops opened, but closed early. There were places to be, but few reasons to stay. Urban designers had optimized movement, but minimized chance. There was no room for coincidence, no reason to linger, no environment for community to grow naturally. And yet, these observations were dismissed. According to planning memos, the discomfort was described as temporary adjustment. The system, they believed, was sound. Time would solve the rest. The problem did not begin with failure, it began with efficiency. According to internal operational reviews, the city was performing exactly as designed. Commute times were short, services were predictable, and daily routines followed clean patterns. But something unexpected emerged. People stopped staying out. After work hours, streets emptied quickly, public spaces fell silent. Retail data from the period records an early anomaly. Shops struggled despite high average incomes. There were customers, but no crowds. Urban activity occurred in isolation, not in clusters. Planners initially celebrated this. Fewer crowds meant less congestion, less noise, less unpredictability. But sociologists raised concerns. In observational studies quietly circulated at the time, researchers noted a lack of informal interaction, no street culture, no spontaneous gatherings, no shared rituals. People moved with purpose, but rarely without reason. Then came the policy that changed everything. In an effort to further optimize the city, officials introduced stricter zoning enforcement. Mixed-use spaces were reduced, informal vendors were removed, and unplanned activity was discouraged. According to enforcement records, the goal was consistency, but consistency had a cost. Cafes lost foot traffic, small businesses closed, and evening life vanished. Residents adapted by staying indoors. Social life moved behind walls, into private spaces, out of the city itself. Transportation data began to shift. Weekend departures increased. Overnight stays elsewhere became common. People were not leaving permanently, but they were escaping. The city functioned, but it no longer invited participation. Officials responded with numbers. According to performance dashboards, nothing appeared wrong. Infrastructure usage remained stable. Maintenance costs were low. Crime was minimal. By every measurable standard, the city was a success, except one. People no longer felt attached to it, and attachment was never part of the model. That omission would prove critical, because cities do not survive on efficiency alone. They survive on friction, on overlap, on moments no one planned. And by removing those moments, the city had unknowingly triggered its own decline. The city did not fail because it was broken. It failed because it worked too well. According to later urban analysis reports, the system achieved near-perfect efficiency. Movement was optimized, time was minimized, and unpredictability was nearly eliminated. But in doing so, something invisible disappeared. Sociological reviews written years later describe the same pattern. People interacted less, trusted less, and felt less connected. The design had removed friction, and friction was where relationships once formed. There were no accidental meetings, no shared inconveniences, no moments of delay where conversation might begin. Public transport was efficient, but silent. Parks were clean, but empty. Streets were wide, but lifeless. According to archived interviews with residents, many struggled to explain the feeling. They described the city as logical, comfortable, and emotionally distant. The planners had assumed something critical, that human behavior could be predicted and therefore controlled. Internal planning documents reveal this belief clearly. Social life was treated as a variable, not as a force. If people needed community, it would be scheduled. If they needed leisure, it would be assigned a zone. But community does not emerge on command. It emerges through overlap, through inconvenience, through shared imperfection. By eliminating randomness, the city eliminated meaning. This was the paradox. The more the city removed chaos, the more isolated its citizens became. And isolation was never measured. Economic indicators remained strong. Infrastructure remained intact, and officials saw no reason to change course. But beneath the data, withdrawal was spreading, birth rates declined, local participation dropped, and civic engagement faded. People complied with the system, but stopped believing in it. Urban theorists later identified this moment as irreversible. Once a city loses emotional gravity, it cannot be repaired with policy alone, because people do not stay where nothing happens, and nothing was happening. By design, the city had become a perfectly functioning shell, efficient, orderly, and quietly empty. That was the twist. Perfection did not solve urban problems. It erased the very conditions that make cities alive. The decline did not arrive as a crisis. It arrived as absence. According to municipal usage reports from the following years, public spaces saw declining activity, not suddenly, but consistently. Libraries remained open, but underused. Transit systems ran on schedule, but carried fewer voices. The city still functioned, but fewer people were living within it. Census data revealed the first measurable shift. Residents were relocating, often quietly, often temporarily. Young families moved first. Schools reported lower enrollment. Community programs struggled to attract participants. Nothing was officially wrong, yet everything felt reduced. Economic reports soon followed. Local businesses closed, not because of recession, but because there were no customers. Without informal foot traffic, commerce collapsed slowly. According to small business testimonies recorded later, the city never created natural demand. People arrived, completed tasks, and left. Nighttime economies never formed. Restaurants survived on schedules, not atmosphere. Culture did not disappear. It simply never emerged. Municipal leaders responded with incentives, tax breaks, new developments, additional planning layers. But these solutions treated symptoms, not causes. More efficiency was added to a system already too efficient. Maintenance costs began to outweigh benefits. Large public spaces required constant upkeep, but served shrinking populations. Infrastructure designed for precision lacked adaptability. According to later evaluations, the city could not evolve. Its layout resisted improvisation. Its zoning resisted change. What was once praised as clarity became rigidity. Eventually, the city reached a tipping point, not marked by collapse, but by irrelevance. Investments slowed. Attention shifted elsewhere. The city remained on maps, but faded from conversations. It had achieved what it was designed to do, and in doing so, it failed at what cities exist for. To bring people together, this was not a ruin, but something colder. A city still standing, yet no longer lived in. Today, urban planners study the city differently, not as a failure of engineering, but as a failure of assumption. According to contemporary urban theory, the mistake was not efficiency itself. It was the belief that human life could be fully optimized. Modern research emphasizes something earlier models ignored. Cities are emotional systems. They rely on friction, on unpredictability, on spaces where nothing is supposed to happen. Economists now argue that informal interaction, street life, and unplanned movement create value that cannot be measured immediately. A city may run smoothly and still be dying. Case studies from newer developments show a shift. Planners now intentionally introduce imperfections, mixed-use chaos, overlapping functions, and areas with no defined purpose. Because those spaces invite ownership. They allow communities to form without instruction. The city in this story taught a hard lesson. Control can produce order, but order cannot produce meaning, and meaning is what makes people stay. The cold ending appears in a final internal review, written after the project was quietly abandoned. The document does not assign blame or propose corrections. It contains only one observation. The system worked exactly as designed, and that was the problem.